navigators, welcome to another episode. We back, and today is our Throwback Thursday. We want to find out, where were you, Vavas J? Where were you? Unoli guy. Yes, and that sends me right straight to you. Oh, what? Another song, hey? What is that?
Yeah, it had a line that went upside down. You turn me.
Turning me.
Yes.
Yeah, well, guys.
Thank you, Ishmael.
I'm sure it's a teller, who is, how old the people that I'm seated here with are. And I didn't give it away. They gave it away. Hello, Mawetu.
Hey, vivacious
How are
viewer.
you?
I'm good, and how are you doing?
I'm
It is
great,
a pleasure.
thank you.
It is an honor. It is a privilege to be here, man.
In truly your style, we are honored to have you here. Thank you so much for joining
What
us
a
for
beauty.
today's conversation. Sakwana, Babi Noluntu.
Oh, we're back.
How are you?
We're flattering.
Wow.
You know what? I'm getting so much energy with today's topic and your hairstyle. Yes, Njela hairstyle.
Guys, nizoyazi ke nina.
Guys, I'm at 2000. Stick with us. We're going to make sure that you catch up. We're going to certainly make sure that you catch up.
We are the
You will
vibe.
understand the hairstyle because it's worth everybody knowing what that hairstyle was inspired by. Thina bantu bakhule ngexesha lika Boom Shaka Thobela. Sanibona Navigators.
Mkhweramo.
Yayizwa. Sanibona Navigators. We are here for our very Throwback Thursday episode, and it is in line with the 27th of April. It is that time where we remember where we were, where you come from. Some people say for you to know who you are, you need to know where you come from. It is part of our identity as South Africans. As we enjoy the freedom that we are enjoying today, we also thought to pay respect to those that made it possible for us by having this episode and us reflecting on where were we when the 27th of April 1994 happened. In the words of our great, great inspiration and our father, Nelson Mandela, never, never, and never again, I wish I could say it in his tone, never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. There was something in the air around that era. There was something in the air for all of us. There was hope everywhere. We were all just, trying to identify closely with it, all trying to be part of it because it was a big moment for every black child. So in my failed
it will
attempt,
just come.
I still want somebody to caption it in the true Dadu Nelson Mandela voice. Where's being the only testosterone here? Are you able to save the day? Never.
Well, it's been a while since I've been gone, but I will try it again. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another.
Ha.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah,
Guys, how was that? How was that?
that was beautiful.
Wasn't it?
It was.
Right? I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm at 2000. We know, guys, we share the same room, the same spaces. We're all navigating this journey together. So as a senior behind, we shall never leave you behind. On the 27th of April, 1994, that was a pivotal moment for us as South Africans. And it is a day that would then see for legislation to be passed for all of us to have the right to vote. And as history records and as it has it, we know that in that year we had a voter register of 87% of the population. As you can imagine, if you were given that opportunity for the first time, that day was a big day,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
It was.
Oh,
Can
for
you
sure.
remember where you guys were?
I was at home.
Uh-huh.
I think even preluding that, at Transkei, ke, I think those will remember. Transkei.
Chisa,
They were, I think it was helicopters that would fly over with ballot papers. And it was some sort of advocacy, I could say.
uh-huh,
So they had all the candidates, those ballot papers had all the candidates.
uh-huh.
And I think for the first time as a child, you would see there was a kiss party.
Yes,
What? The kiss party?
There was a kiss
yes,
party.
kiss
We
party.
didn't even know there was a kiss
Yeah.
What
party.
did you imagine the kiss party to represent?
To be a mwah, mwah.
But wouldn't you want to be part of that kiss party? Where were you, Moet? Vavas J.
1994, it was my
Yes.
first year at boarding
Unoli
school.
guy. Oh,
Yes, but I think on the day of the 27th, I was on holiday in Lesotho. I think I was visiting my exiled uncle there. But I was very much alive. I was a 13-year-old bouncing boy, right? I was in boarding school at the time. I remember there was so much expectation. There was a very vibrant teacher there. I'll try and name my teachers, but maybe for the purposes of this discussion, not. The guy was also, I think, he had a bit of paranoia as to what was to come. And we used to sing Distem from the beginning till the end because that was
Do
the
you
country's
remember
national.
that?
Yes.
because I
We
also
even
went.
sang. We even sang it in English. Ringing
it was
out from our blue heavens.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember that because I also went into a
Model
Afrikaans
C
English.
school.
Yes, and I remember some assemblies we had to sing pre 1994.
Yes.
My 2000.
Yes, to stem from the
Yes.
beginning to the
it was,
end.
Yes, it was the Afrikaans version or the English version.
Yep.
Yes.
But it was never the Xhosa version for some reason in those schools.
Well, I remember he said, then you will joyously sing your Nkosi Sikelele. That's what they called it. Nkosi Sikelele.
Wow.
You know, yeah, the unpolluted, or well, unadulterated version of Nkosi Sikelele Africa that had Woza Moya.
Woza Moya. I
Yes,
remember it.
yes,
I remember.
yes, yeah.
Wow.
That was meant to be our national anthem, but because of Mr. Nelson Mandela's integration politics, inclusivity, there was a bit of the stem there because the stem was a triumphalist tone of
The Boer.
conquering. Yes, of the Boers, and then the Nkosi Sikelel was prayerful, basically. Yes. Now there was this contention that you are mixing prayer with triumphalism and conquering and what. So, but for the sake of us being one nation,
The
one goal,
Rainbow Nation, the ideal.
Rainbow
that
Nation, the two anthems were fused, and then there were parts of. I mean, there was Xhosa, Sotho, Afrikaans, and English.
And English.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
One would say Nguni and,
Nguni, yeah.
what? But
Yeah.
let's leave it
But
there.
there's exclusion of other languages. We've got 11. Is it 11 or 12?
We've got 12, isn't it?
It's 11.
Guys,
11
it's quite an
different
important question. We can't be asking ourselves, being patriots. As patriots of this
Yeah.
country, we should know
We
that
should know
there
how
is
many.
how many official languages again?
11
11
official languages. Yes.
Okay.
11.
All right. Navigators, please help us out on this one.
I'm a 1-1.
I understand for us to have 11 languages, but I also know that there's the Khoisan language, and I'm not quite sure how that narrative developed. Have they been adopted as an official language? Because there is a narrative that they are the traditional.
Look, on paper there are 11 official languages, but there's much more. I just learned when I was in Limpopo that there is a language called Remba, ne? And then there's a language called Kilobedu. You understand? Okay. And then somewhere in Lesotho there's a language called Isiphuti.
Okay.
You know, and then there is a language called Islubi.
Yes.
And those languages have not been
I
officialized.
wonder what it takes to make a language official, but that's a question maybe for another day. So 1994, back at our throwback episode, guys, we're taking things back, and I hope for all of us that grow in the 80s, 70s, guys, we can accommodate you in this episode. But
Yes.
60s, we pay respect to you and those that came before you, because 1994 became a result of your hard work at pushing back against the injustice that black people were subjected to. But back at 1994, so 1994 statistics tell us that it was the end of 342 years of colonial and apartheid regime. The rule that actually advocated for the oppression of black people, and it is also a time where South Africa ended its international isolation. So sanctions were lifted, and South Africa could join the Commonwealth and hosted a Rugby World Cup in 1995. Yes. And also stats do tell us that in terms of the legal framework of the country, there was now a guarantee of equality, or at least efforts to to get to equality, where human dignity was at the center of governance for the country, and also where the Bill of Rights was initiated and passed.
Right.
So, which gave us the freedom, or to go to the schools that we take for granted. To go to, and I want to check because there's something that I mentioned earlier on, that my goodness, 1994, people stood in queues.
Oh, yes.
People stood in queues to exercise their right to
They
vote.
woke up early.
And the queues that people stood on, people would be there at 8 a.m. and they could only maybe, there was no guarantee as to what time you could get to cast your vote. Some would be in those queues and exercise their right to vote after standing there for 15 hours, for 18 hours. And people still saw that as something that was worth their time.
Yeah.
And I want us to compare to today's statistics.
Oof.
Number one,
Yeah.
we moved from 87%, is it 87% precisely, to now 58% of the population that appreciates the right to vote.
So 30%
And we
drop.
have been part of the generation that transitioned from those that appreciated this, those that stood in the queues for 15, 18 hours to cast their votes. What do you think could be the reason for this? Is it the waiting time? Is it the waiting time? Are we busy? Are we too busy in our personal lives to stand for hours on end just to cast a vote? Where do you think it went wrong? I don't want to say it went wrong because I don't know if that is something that's, if we can term it wrong, but where do you think the change came from, Nolund?
For me, I think it's just the discouragement of, and it actually goes to every citizen. If we call ourselves citizens, children of this country, of the soil, we have a sole responsibility, to make the change. So I honestly, I'm not political. But
I love that.
This is just my view, and it's not of the show, just my view.
I love that, guys. Also, I love the disclaimer you're making. This is just our views, right?
Yes,
Thank you.
it's just our views. I remember when my grandmother going to vote. She was so excited. And she was so excited that our driver was ready to take her, to the voting stations. And when she came back hours later, she was so excited and she said, "This bantwana bam luchintsho. Andizuluvuna mna, kodwa bantwana benu bazawulivuna."
Man.
And most of the time, you look and you think, well, our kids are dating white boys. There's no color, There's interracial relationships. You watch and you think, this is the change. Now, for us, we have been expecting, and hence I said, it is our sole mandate or duty as an individual person, a South African, to be the change that we want to be. We are here expecting urhulumente to bring the change. We are government. We are government. We the people. We are the people.
I love that.
It is not a man that's in power that should be doing the
love
change.
that.
It starts with us. And it
love
forces them to listen, to do the change, to bring the change.
I love
because
that.
we are the change.
I love that. And I could also marry that with what Martin Luther King said once, that ask ye not what the country can do for you.
What can you do
But
for it?
what can you do for your country?
Absolutely.
I don't know if we still have such views in society. And Mawethu, maybe you coming in on this one. A point in time where the promise is equality.
Yes.
The promise is the falling off of the signs in bathrooms that says whites only.
Yeah.
And blacks decide. It is the falling off of the system that was just so unjust in its formulation.
Yeah.
It gives us a chance to actually fully live as individuals, to realize our potential. Without the burden of a system that's opposing, one's quality of life, if one may call it. And how did we regress? How did that seem to mean less to us? Why are less of us taking our voting right so seriously? I mean, we take it less seriously, if I'm coming across correctly. What could be the reason behind that?
During the time when there was oppression, there were discriminatory laws, discriminant laws. There was so much expectation that whatever the leaders of the struggle or the leaders of the liberation movements then were going to change and convert for humanity, not only for black people, but even for white people, to say an equal society where there is one man, one vote as a principle. So everyone was looking forward and expectant, and every village and every town and every city can recall vividly that day that the queues were snaking. I think there were helicopter shots of different dusty roads, in various areas, from the cities to the villages, right? And now we came to power, right? It was not the complete removal of the old and the introduction of the new, but it was the fusing of the two. I remember the Minister of Finance came from the previous regime. I remember the rand notes were written CJ Stiles or Chris Stiles, who was a governor then from the old regime, which was fine, right? But now there were other laws that were introduced, which some people badly name as reverse racism, but it was more like correcting the imbalances that were introduced by the previous regime, like the BEE laws. But now with those laws came people that understood power differently, and they were unfortunately driven by greed and driven by corruption that we see today. And that is unfortunately the image that represents the new era. The corruption, the embezzlement of funds, the abuse of state resources, which is something that makes people disillusioned to actually even participate in this so-called democracy. But if only they understood the amount of power they have, they can actually use it to remove the dispensation that doesn't represent their aspirations.
I love that. Hey, you guys are on another level today. You just are like, Ziaka Navigators, can you see Uncle Wes is not just an Uncle Bay. I want to ask, Noluntu, knowing that you and I come from rural towns, Kokombo, Mnandingo, Wasengcobo. Hello, Bakaya, by the way. Sawanda babayo. Growing up in our time, I know this for a fact because I went to local schools, rural schools initially. And I also know the concept of electricity wasn't something we even thought of, basically. Our lives were just so organically run. There was no water. We used pit toilets. There was no electricity. Amakhandlela nezazibane zeglasses azulwa, zeparafini, primer stove and all of that. And we sit here in 2026 and there's a I don't know what to call it, but there's this conclusive view, if we can call it that Hulumende wabantu abamnyama has not gone as far as people expected. Do you really think, seated here, and this is just a citizenry commentary, because we are part of the population of this country, and we do carry views. But do you really honestly think it is because government has not delivered any difference compared to the previous government?
No.
Or could it be that maybe government overpromised before they understood what would be required? And is it all just lost in what is termed just corruption, a corrupt government? They haven't done anything. Are we appreciating, or has really nothing been done and achieved?
Look, I think we, in light of what you've said, it's an over-promise. You know, you overpromise, we will change your life. We will, I mean, schooling is free still. Electricity, okay, get Tina Sasinombani wangu Tesco.
Okay? Yes, I know.
You remember?
I remember.
So, and before that, we had a generator that would run maybe because Ngwa saving lane. Each generator would run. I just have to put that in.
Yeah.
Each generator would run throughout the course of the day, and at 7, each generator iyacima. Like just banze paraffin. Then came Tesco. Now sinombani. But umbani wethu wayehamba masxa kumoya.
Yeah.
If kukumoya, should the wind or should the rain?
The rain, yeah.
You know? But these are changes. These were gradual changes. Amanzi, yes. I connect with borehole, but I puma, you know, when the borehole dries out, I puma pamanya manzi etepini. Then you started seeing that in some houses, amanzi angena etepini, vulite pamanzi ayangena. So we can't look at what is going on now and say, no, zange kwenziwanto.
I love that.
There's been work that
there
has
is
been
work.
done. I mean, some in small, okay, in my town, guys, like itango kiphele ekhaya, iyagqitha phofu ekhaya. Like ngoku imoto zene low profile can actually come to my house.
Yeah, Eva.
Uyayibona?
Yeah.
Yet we had roads. I remember a time my dad used to, because sasihlala in secondary roads, azigradele ngokwakhe. Because kaloku kufuneka xa isuka shop sigoduka late imoto zakhe zingabetheki. You know? But there's been work, there's been infrastructure. It's just that I also think, you know, yes, there is corruption that we cannot hide. I mean, there wouldn't be these commissions if there wasn't corruption. But we have to take it with a pinch of salt and say, and look at the work that has been done. Yes, there is the negative, but there is the positive.
I love that.
There is the positive work that's been done by our government.
On a spectrum, of positivity.
Yeah.
There is absolute optimism on the one end.
Right.
And there is pessimism on the other hand. And with that in mind, I want to actually ask you, to give your views on this. That with everything that I think Unoluntu has just spoken to, that ultimately there are wins, there have been wins, you know. Who do you think it serves for us when we now maybe discard our own? Because I think the minute we try and define what government has done from the perspective that is exterior to us, we will never find anything that government has done. But as Unoluntu just showed us, there used to be no road to a house. At least if she can stand here and say, at least there's one thing I've seen with my eyes, is that now there is a road that leads to my house, right? Yeah. And do you maybe think we have been conditioned, and I won't ask by who, conditioned not to appreciate what has happened? And by that, I'm not discounting the ills that come with corruption and so on. But I mean, to get a population or patriots or people that identify as South Africans sitting and standing with their chests and saying nothing has been achieved, is it a realistic view in your according to you?
The fact that we've been given voting rights and what they call political suffrage is an achievement. One man, one vote is an achievement. But we cannot applaud a fish for swimming.
Okay,
I love that. A government is a government is a government. So the government must give its citizens welfare and grants. So a government cannot pat itself on the shoulder, because even the apartheid government, now I see people using that as a way to market, their political work, to say, if you vote for us, we're going to give you government grants. That's very insulting. Secondly, the government must build roads. The government must create jobs. The government must fight crime. The government must make sure that we have a healthy current account as a nation, right? So we cannot applaud certain things that we expect the government to do anyway. But real transformation comes when there is a change of frontiers, there is a change of economic power. And I know sometimes we talk about these things being very charged up emotionally, but if we can just take a step back and say things that translate to factors of production, things like land, for instance, is still a contentious issue. Things like food security. Do you know, Viwe and Noluntu, that, what ethnic group in South Africa became richer since the advent of democracy?
Is it not the white people?
It's the Afrikaners,
Yeah.
right? It's the Afrikaners. So now,
Because they own the factors of production, right?
since 1948, when apartheid began in 1948 in the country,
Okay.
so this is where there was a power shift between the English,
And the Boers,
yes,
as they were called.
as
in
they were
history.
called, and the Nazis as they were called in time. You understand? So the more things have changed, the more they've stayed the same. Now, I'm not saying people must be impoverished and they mustn't be given opportunities, but we need to understand things that call for effective change. And unfortunately, it becomes difficult to say we have made inroads while those things persist.
No, Lundu, and I think this question is coming to both of you.
Okay.
And I just want you in on it, right? That, there is, and as we always say in this show, there's the philosophy, where we can all agree this is right when we are talking at the principle level.
Okay.
And then there's the practicality of life, where you deal with matter as reality and outside what you imagine seated here. And it's something that I don't know how to, I hope I use the right words to properly phrase the question, that can we ever sit here, ever distance ourselves from the problems that we exist with today? And with that, I do want to say that I will make an example just for clarity, that you have a head boy
Okay.
heading sheep. Are they called head boys, right?
Yeah.
Heading sheep. Totally affected by whatever that was affecting us in its entirety. The exclusion from education, the non-participation in economy, and which leads you to not going to school. You are just heading sheep. But you are showing up in every meeting that is attempting to push against the regime that is the Afrikaners and whatever, the white government that we had. And with the struggle, and it's coming to the end and the advent of the democracy, you now find yourself as a president of the country. That is with sacrifice. It's with everything that it came with. The threats to your life, and every other thing that you had to do in service to your country. And now you emerge on the other side as the president of the country. And by that illustration, it's just maybe a short attempt at trying to describe how maybe Zuma is viewed through my lenses,
Okay.
as somebody who literally made it through whatever the system presented him, which I can't even comprehend because I was too young at the time to suffer similar pain at the time.
Right.
Now you are emerging as the president. And I understand how corruption is defined, and I respect the definition of corruption tries to address in making sure that we don't fall into such behaviors. But is it ever a fair expectation that I now come as that boy, or if I was, and I am not expected to first start at home? Where do we now marry our principles as Black Africans of I am because you are? And I'm now coming from this environment. Imagine, guys, however you feel about it.
Yeah.
I'm now the president of the Republic of South Africa, and I come with my tribe, the people that understood the pain that I went through.
Yes.
Nankuma Wethu, who's saying, now I am actually good at numbers. And how is it honestly corruption? Have we not agreed to things that we shouldn't have? Or were we right in our conception of what this corruption is? If I now say, Nankuma Wethu, come look at the books, Zalapa, because I want to make sure I'm running and you are someone I trust. Come, Nolundu, come. Is it really honestly? And I want us to say, I don't know, what are your views on that?
Look, I think maybe I would say we're split.
Okay.
or I'm going to contradict myself in this.
Ahead of your saying. Declaring
So I'm
ahead.
declaring ahead to protect myself from myself.
Okay.
First of all, if someone is to resume I'll speak in the context of a kingdom. So if
I love that you are, because kingdoms are quite a great example for,
yes,
for the question.
they
you had.
really are. A king is born.
Yes.
But from the time the king is born, whether he's a prince at the time and there's a king, that little prince is groomed for that seat.
I love that.
So every waking moment, he has different mentors
Yes.
within the kingdom,
Yes.
that teach him that this is how you treat people.
Uh-huh.
He has a moment where he sits in the court to hear, or the tribunal, to listen and see the wisdom, how cases are judged.
I love
So that by the time he then ascends the throne, he is able to be a fit king. Right? Okay. Now, we cannot expect, if there has been no mentoring, no grooming,
I love that.
that when someone finally gets to that place where there is power, there is influence,
Yeah.
right? And not just influence, great influence. That this person or this individual would then be stately about it. The whole ethics thing comes in, right? Come the African child. Abantwana bami bazolamba ndisendaweni. Usista wami akazudinga.
But we call that corruption. We call that nepotism.
We call it
that.
okay. And here's the beautiful thing. Yes, in
Yeah.
big corporate organizations like your conglomerates, maybe
Yeah.
we could call it nepotism. But if my sister, who is an interior, an architect,
Yeah.
right, a designer, and I'm coming into a space that says ndine branches ezifo, I'm not going to go take Louise and Ellen. I'm going to take her, Bukiwe. Hey, yiza nansi into nangumsebenzi.
But kaloku,
This way-
we're the first ones to shout corruption
Yes.
when you do
It-
that.
Yes,
it-
but-
unfortunately, it is corruption.
But
Is it?
It is corruption.
yes,
I-
my wife is
You know,
the ethics guy.
Yeah.
The question is not what is corruption in its definition, because
Yeah.
surely we can all agree on what that is.
Yeah.
It is exactly what Unolundu has said. Calling Ubukiwe, his sister, to come in.
Yes,
that's
Gandhi
corruption
Samet.
in the
Yeah.
true depth, in the
Yeah.
interim. Because I hope our kids will live long enough
Yeah.
and fight big enough for them to actually find the true
Yeah.
meaning of what that is.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in the context of people that were coming in to push against, things that were set up to make sure that we never thrive. When we start doing that, were we not loose in our accepting of the definition of corruption to be as blanket as that?
Oh my goodness, I think I'm going to be completely vilified by my Tsonga friends and the Tsonga people in entirety. I read this book long time ago. It quoted a Tsonga phrase or proverbial expression that ngala aina shaka, something like that. But I'm sorry, forgive me if I got it wrong. But what it means is that a lion has got no kith or kin. The idiomatic expression of that, translated, is if you are a chief, you are a king, or you are a president, right? You should not swindle favor to
Okay.
your family. There is nothing wrong in your family participating in the mainstream of things, as long as you are not the one who has exerted undue influence and abused power and authority to give advantage to your kith and kin. If I can make an example, Mao Zedong, the Chinese, what you call communist leader and founder, he by virtue of being in power, he denounced his family because he said he owed it to many other Chinese people whatever favor that was due to his family. You know, so when you're a leader, we are not saying you will not be affected, but declare and do state that this is my sister's company, as long as you are employing her on her merits, okay, not because she is a president's what you call.
Sister.
I remember at some stage many years ago, Usisi Mandela, she was in trouble with some company. I'm not sure if it was Peter Stuyvesant, I can't remember, but it was this company that arranged international artists to come.
Oh yes,
and
I
perform.
remember.
Yes.
That period, yes.
And then the first thing that that company did was call Mr. Nelson Mandela to say, hey, listen, sir, Mr. President, your daughter is owing us some money here. Intervene. It's like, no. The concessions that you made with my daughter were the concessions that were between you and my daughter. The agreements that were consented belong to her. I will not do anything about it. That is your jurisdiction, not mine. You understand? I'm looking at the fiscal policy here. I'm looking at the unemployment equity laws here. I'm looking at this and ABCD as a statesman. I'm not looking into individual favors and fortunes. So I think his response was very statesman. So I think there's a thin line there where as a statesman you should be expected to behave in a certain way.
I understand. I hope our leaders are watching just that part, at least if nothing else.
Just that only part.
Just that part, that as a statesman, and nobody could say it better than you did, by the way, Wes. Thank you so much.
Oh,
So we are
I
still...
hope I made sense.
No, you did. We appreciate your input, and thank you so much. And maybe in moving today's conversation forward, Nolita, I want to come back to you. There is this notion, and I don't know if it exists within the people that are in my life or not. You know, this thing about us as black people are incapable, or us as black people. Have you never had such a... I don't want to seem like...
No, I have.
Right? This and that, right? Is where do you think we get it wrong? Where do you think we get it wrong? And with that, for me, being a pure optimist at times, even without, to a point of insanity, I still get to appreciate how far we've come as a country. And that is not without acknowledging our challenges. But when we then look and zoom into where the challenges are, right? What do you think? Where do you think? Is it a matter of skin color? Is it honestly that our administration is registered by skin color, is poorly administered? Where do you think we're getting it wrong?
It's accountability. There's no accountability. Now, remember, Nangunoluntu, here's a project. You're the project manager. I come and I say, VOA, this project, I can handle it. I can deliver it within budget. I can save you money on it. And this is, yes, the pricing and the costing.
I see.
I do not deliver. I do not save the money. Instead, the project becomes a money pit. And then that's it. And I'm like, okay, I failed. Yeah, there we go. Where's the accountability?
Can I have a follow-up, though?
Please.
I get you on accountability totally and fully, But do you think enough work has been done to find out why we sometimes don't deliver?
In the little corner or the little area, in something as small as washing dishes, that when you pick it up, you can see it's clean, right?
Yeah.
And you find there are those people, whether we call them, they've got OCD, but they want it clean. They will clean it.
I understand.
That's a form of excellence.
Excellence or obsession?
No, that's a form of excellence.
Okay.
Iglass xa siyihlambile, uyiphindise, uyibeke ekhabhathini, and
I
then
understand.
there's not smudges.
I understand.
If we then are programmed or we are wire-tuned to do the best in everything, not a best as a standard, but your best. You give it your best shot in delivering.
I understand.
Look, viewer,
I understand.
I think for me it's just an excuse.
Okay.
As Noluntu is saying, it's just an excuse to justify poor delivery or low standards. We can point as a nation to a moment in history where the institutions that we have run have become successful. I mean, if you look at people like Richard Mabonya, for instance, operating under the conditions that he operated under and building the empire that he built up until the time before he died, he built Mabonya Mall, for instance. Yes, there could be arguments as to who was financing that and who participated, but that guy operated when the laws were strict that a black person cannot own a certain piece of land. Mr. Mpanza of the Pirates fame. I mean, if you look at the Kaizer Chiefs, the Orlando Pirates, and Mamelodi Sundowns, those are soccer clubs that were owned by black people, and they were run. There were sponsorships. There were times during the independence and the homelands. That was a controversial moment in history, but it happened. There were black leaders there who were running institutions. There were hospitals. There was business. There was service delivery. There was farming.
Yes.
And the standard of excellence was very high. You understand? And these are black people. There were schools that were excelling. It was not just white school. They continue to excel. There are principals who guide those schools under good principalship with the right ethics. So it's just an excuse where there are many examples of excellent and servant leadership. You know, if you look at Utatu Oliver Tambo, for instance, I'll just mention him. He's the longest serving president of the ANC, but he held that organization together, yes, with all the controversies that it had, you know, but those guys had to be in charge of the donor funds from the World Council of Churches, the Organization of African Unity, and they were in charge of those funds. Yes, there was embezzlement, but those were the funds that were taking care of the families of the freedom fighters, you understand, and their children went to schools. They had to see to it that the logistics were run successfully. These were the guys who were the statesmen that were looking forward to them ruling that country with the same ethics. You understand? So I think it's just an excuse that we do know what excellence is, and there's no accountability when there's no excellence. We need to remove those people from power who are abusing power and authority, not only in politics, wherever, NGOs.
Churches.
Yes. Well,
Well, it's excellence. We are expecting excellence.
yeah, I think with churches, I think Labefundisi and stuff, it's a little different. There's a bit, but there's an accountability structure as well there, you know. There's an accountability structure as well. But my point
Hopefully
is,
a functional one.
But my point is, we need it comes from self-love as well, to say,
understand.
as people. I remember there was an organization that held a status campaign, because the leaders were, if we respect ourselves, if we don't respect ourselves, no one else will respect us. All right. And again, there's a colonial effect where you are less than you know what other human standards are. So we need to bring ourselves on par to say we are just equally capable. We can be lawyers, we can be chartered accountants, we can be engineers, we can be actuarial science. Any sphere of human development, we can reach just as well as other nations. You understand? So I think it's just an excuse.
So the fears that we had, and I think I'm taking along you, young navigator, where you're like, how did we even end up here? Okay, how did we end up with this public holiday? That came with fears that existed before we gained our freedom. You know, civil wars between parties, civil wars between tribes. We existed with a myriad of challenges: economic exclusion, unemployment, poverty, all structural systems meant to dehumanize the black child. And that's why you are now seated there enjoying this public holiday today. But with the hopes, and I want to come back to my panel here. I call you guys panel today because yay, answer is kupayo. Hey. I am sitting here with citizens of this country, and we are deliberating on matters and how they have affected us as citizens of this country. And you know, people think people that can have opinions on these things are people that are somewhat analysts, but we are equally capable of at least weighing in how history has impacted our lives. Now, with the hopes of whatever was promised, and I know Nani Bangap, in fact, let me first establish, how old were you in 1994?
I was 13 years old.
You both were 13.
Funa yaziwe ngokuba sinangazi bazabala abantu bathi yo mdala la sisi.
Telling mothers, fathers and mothers. But fathers and mothers, with the hope of what was promised, free education, free healthcare, employment, What else was promised? Can we keep it there for now?
Equality.
Equality and so on, right? And I now know, because if you study, you will learn. And I encourage our young navigators to go to school, so that you also empower yourselves. But as part of my education and in leadership specifically, I know there's something that you have to, and as an organization, formulate, which is called the vision of the organization. Where do we want? If we were to sit here together and form a company, we would have to rally behind the vision of the company.
Yeah.
Where do we imagine ourselves in the future? What are we trying to do? And we are all rallied behind a vision and a hope for South Africa, which promised employment for all of us, which promised free education, which promised free health, and so on. You guys can expand to those that were born in our time and those that were born after, because our history is perfectly documented. So this information is freely available. My question to you, and I'll start with Umawetu this time, just to give you a bit of a breather, is that when we analyze the vision that we are all rallied behind, was it realistic given the finite nature of resources? It doesn't matter what you can hope and dream.
Yeah.
What you hope and dream has to be possible in the context of resources which are available for you to deliver on that. Now, judging and looking back, and us being on this movement that says government has failed, when we analyze and we go back and we say the vision that we were all rallied behind, when we all came back, vote, but I understood the pride that people carried.
Yes.
When people came back with la vote, like inki mnyama kubonzi, ayifaka ubonzi wonke then, as your sign that you voted. Was that vision ever a possibility, or was it too dreamy to be attained?
Yes, we can say it was too dreamy because we understood power to mean something different than when we got into power.
I understand.
But it was just a matter of the cosmetics, in my view. We were
And free houses for all. That's another
Yes.
thing I wanted to say.
Like-
Free houses,
Yes.
free water, free electricity. And
Yes.
I would love for you navigators to come in on it, because I want to,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
the question really is, weren't we too dreamy? Because if we can
We were.
maybe get to that, then maybe that can change how we evaluate where we are. Because there is the limitedness of resources, I would imagine.
We were dreamy, and I think our leaders noticed, they realized that we were dreamy, but they were not honest with the voters, right? That these are dreamy goals, dreamy objectives, and near impossible objectives, because they had a foretaste of power when they started having negotiations at a CODESA level, a referendum, and all of those things, to say, look, guys, you cannot rule the way you wish to rule. You cannot say out with the old and in with the new. It will not work for our nation because we've got foreign direct investment here. This will scare away the investors. This will let you not have access to trust funds, certain trust funds that were meant to be inherited by people that were favored by the previous regime. All right. So there was a whole lot of laws to say you cannot have this, you cannot change this completely. Yes, the draconian laws, like this is a whites only, were changed, right? But as to other nitty-gritties, for instance, if you look at the financial services,
Space.
we had no skill, right? So we had to depend on the people that had skill. Yes, there were people who formed black institutions like the African Bank, Abotatu. Semutswenyane, he started but he had to face up with the economic citadels of white institutions.
Was it Barclays Bank?
There was Barclays Bank,
Barclays
there
Bank,
was
Standard Bank.
yeah, there was Standard Bank, there was Volkswagen Bank, there was, so basically he saw an opportunity and a gap to say, to empower my people, they are the unbankable. How do we bank the unbankable? I think it's what today the model that was used by Capitec. But anyway, I'm not an expert in the banking industry, but this was just a high level commentary. Please. So
Yeah,
these
no, you're
financial
safe.
analysts,
It's a safe space here.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You
Yeah.
are protected.
yes, but as for everything else, now imagine when you have promised that we're going to be a socialist country, everything is going to be free, you're not going to pay for your schooling, and what do you do with the private schooling system? Are you going to close down those schools? You understand? But then I think they were not honest to say, look, guys, for us to actually sustain this to be an economy that operates in the world that we are, we either have to fight a very unending battle and take another 30 years to rebuild, or we just move along with the tide and just switch power from here to there, but we don't change, we don't bring meaningful change.
I understand.
You understand?
I understand.
Yeah, so that's the...
There is a view that whoever, and I will use Utatomkhulu Rolihlahla Mandela as the face of my question, but through reference to him, I mean every man and woman that was part of the negotiations with was it the National Party?
Yes.
Yeah, for the transition, so that we could find ourselves in the world that we live in, where the ANC is leading, or where the black man is in charge in South Africa. So there's a view that these people sold us short, because as we sit here today, we do enjoy political power, which I don't know if we are doing well with it, because that's a question for another.
Yeah.
That's for another day. But we sit here with the political power, yet the economical power still does not sit with the black child. And we're starting now to evaluate, was it ever worth it, whatever that we came out of those negotiations with. And my question to you is, how do you sit on that view? Do you feel that maybe they could have negotiated better? Or do you feel that it is coming from people that could still shape it differently, that are alive today? Where do you sit on that conversation?
Okay. Look, again, not political. Business, sure, but not political. I still believe, and I still hope that where we are as a nation, we can turn it around. Because the people that sat in the negotiations back then
Yes.
are what, pensioners now?
Are some late?
Some are late. And the onus now is on the generation that follows. Because they might have disempowered us in negotiating then.
For disempowered, sorry for coming in. Are you saying disempowered because you are imagining we would have wanted something else but left it something else?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think I'm coming in with the part where there's this narrative that says, no, they sold us out.
Yes.
The delegation that was there sold us out as the black people.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm saying, sure, that is history, that has happened. But what then do we do in the present and to forge for the future?
I see.
Because that is history. We know that happened. And we can't change it. We can't undo it. It's done. But what do we do now to change it in the now, so that our children and our children's children and their children can benefit from the changes that we do now?
I love that. But how does it feel to be free?
It was good.
Hey?
Guys, I don't think abantu can appreciate, ne?
Ungaphathi idompas.
Viwe ufike nciba ehle umzali ephethe ntoni i-book of life.
Book of life.
And passport. Ne?
Yes.
Kule passport, I still have my
Yes,
my
a
mother's
Transcar.
passport.
No, yes.
Inamagama am no brother wam.
Yes.
Angene. At nehle nani because ufuneka nibonwe.
I used to be hidden for those. Like, there was a suitcase I would fit into because I didn't have like papers, guys. Imagine being a foreigner in your own country, I didn't have. So me and my brother, like, they used to carry us in luggages. I don't know how to call it. Bags amachangane.
No problem.
No problem. But the no problem would then have a blanket on top.
Yes.
So it seems like it's luggage. Yes. We knew our positions. Or you'd have to hide, but we were hidden because we didn't have papers. So I can totally relate to what you're saying.
And you get to East London, you can't go into restaurants.
What restaurants? What
You
are you
can't go into
talking
restaurants. Nizathenga kwa KFC. And KFC was a big
Kentucky.
guys,
It
Kentucky.
wasn't-
It wasn't even
Kentucky.
KFC.
It wasn't KFC.
It was
Yeah.
Kentucky
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
chicken. And it was a good thing.
And
it was a
chicken
big
licking.
thing. And ni drive back ngobusuku niyabuya niwela inceba and you know but oh okay sifikile emakhaya. And
Yeah.
and I don't think they would ever understand that or the fact that I remember one time Ixhopo almost was a good school.
Yes,
I-
yes, yes. I
yes.
had friends that went there.
Yes, and my grandfather was taking me for an interview. Ufike ke ukhumshe ba. So dembile ngesilungu, ukhumshe ba. Okay. So after we've gone to the interview, we then leave and go for we go for dinner. No, it was lunch. We went into a place and me being me, okay. So ndiyakulenda to whites only. Ndiyangena. Then my grandfather's like, hey, wena. Singena apha, sohlala apha. And the black only area is very dingy. Itafile zakhona, it's that dark oak. Akhondi appetizer. So my grandfather says, order, sitye, khwela emotweni sihamba sakuthela uKentucky abendleleni.
Yeah, okay? Love it. Love it.
So I don't think we would appreciate because I mean, I look at my kids. My kids, they're so vocal. There are things that they can say, and you think, "Sana kudala kwakuthiwa suyithetha loo nto because it's
I love
treason."
that. I love that. I love it. And do you know why I love it? In fact, this is my last question to you
Yes.
too.
Yes.
That I am of the opinion
Right.
that the 50s, and I'm going to limit it to the people that I experienced life with, you know?
Right.
So your 1930s, 40s, 50s, and
Yeah.
that's like from my grandfather, you know,
Correct.
I'm drawing from there. You know, up until maybe the 1960s,
Right.
I know they threw stones back at what was opposing the progress
Correct.
of a black child.
Correct.
So they picked up stones and they were
Yeah.
in the fight and they were in the struggle to push back against the oppression of the black child.
Yes.
Do you think as a generation, now I'm counting back, the reason why I was counting years, now I'm here. 70s, 80s, well, 90s as well,
Early 90s, yes.
early 90s. Have we done enough for our kids to look back and say, our parents pushed back against this? Our parents did this, and hence, because I am also of, you know, and I'm drawing this from that whole quote, you know, the last other episode I was saying we need to live in service of those that lived before us, and also quite bearing responsibility to our descendants in terms of what world we then get to hand over to them. Have we done enough? Or have we just not, or have we just sat as critics of what should, could, and should have been sort of,
Yeah. You asked a question earlier, how does it feel to be free?
Yeah.
I think it feels good that we have platforms such as these to express ourselves. We do not have to sit at certain tables. We can express ourselves through writing. We can criticize the present regime without being harassed. Maybe there are different forms of harassing people that are outspoken against the regime. Yes, there's still political killings. There are still paid assassins in Kabi, and there are people who are targeted because they have a sharp tongue against one regime or another. But we live in a society where we're able to tell a story the way we should. Maybe there isn't that physical confrontation with the powers or the authority, right? But we are able to conscientize people and to educate them as regarding the history of the country, such that they themselves can define their own struggles without us having to dictate how they define that struggle. If I can make an example, fees must fall.
Oh, yes.
Those kids were just tired of the system that represented something that suppressed change. All right? They decided that, look, not only should the statues fall, but any form of coloniality that is embodied by that statue should call. We should redefine the curriculum. We should redefine our personhood and so on and so forth. I'm not sure how far that is right now, but it comes in phases. In a different era, there was an Arab Spring. This is now the youth taking up, saying, look, we are tired. And if we are not careful, it's going to happen here. I'm not inciting any violence, but I'm just saying the youth of any nation gets very restive and irritable when things do not go their way.
But as a generation, as our generation,
As our generation.
what have you contributed that is worth noting in history?
Oh, I don't like talking about myself. I'm contributing now, man. in this I'm contributing in this platform. What do you want me to do?
We hope you are able to change policy through you sitting there. We hope there is a change that's going to come from you having this conversation. May it enlighten one or two. And I hope your views are seen to be worth keeping, or at least worth living by.
Even by one person or two, it's okay. If they disagree with me, it's fine as well. But I did my
Guys, on a lighter
If
note,
one person can relate with
if
good.
only one, I don't want everybody to think we were all just stuck in a boat, we were just crammed up in small spaces, hiding from the white policemen and so on. What were we eating in 1994? I now remember umvubo wamasi, that's amasi asengiweyo.
Yes.
The love. Oh,
Yeah.
I used to as well.
All right.
What was your favorite go home and be like, you know what?
In 1994,
Yeah.
specifically. Okay.
Yeah.
Not prior. 1994. Okay. In
Doesn't
1994.
matter in the time.
In 1994,
in the
remember
era.
I said I was in boarding school.
Yeah.
So we used to have Marmite, fried bentos. I used to detest. I used to hate.
I was thinking you liked it. I'm like, in my mind, I hated it.
Yeah.
Who still eats
And then-
Marmite?
and then the-
Bovril. It's the same thing.
Bovril, yes.
Who still eats Marmite,
yes.
guys?
Yeah, and then I was introduced to the Afrikaner culture, koeksisters. Oh, I used to enjoy those, the koeksisters. And then there was this igwinya, fat cook, with mince inside.
Furniture.
Yeah.
With fat, with
With
mince
mince,
inside.
yes. the furniture.
I used to love that. And then I used to love hot dogs, boerewors.
Yeah. So you see, we ate normal food, right? Like
We did. Funny faces. Zapelas are sweet. Did you remember?
sweetie.
Okay, guys, I'm
The
will-
listening.
it will
smoothies.
sing.
It's smoothies. Are they
It's
still
smoothies,
there?
Toffolax.
Toffalax, funny
Cadbury.
faces. And those sweets that had messages like "I love you," "Be my friend,"
Yeah.
"Yours forever."
What
Sharing is
is?
sweet.
Oh.
You know, almost those kindergarten, like that high school crush. Tenderly sweet.
I also have a question. Tax rate, the car registration plates was XT, and what was it?
XE, sana lam
XE,
ngobo.
exactly.
XE.
XV 1982.
XE,
Those
sana
people
lam.
know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It was XT2131. That was my father's
And
Passat.
and Mtata was XA.
Yes, Mutata was XA.
But also, we could travel between towns with a board, and all you could write
and
was
can-
XE.
But
Can the
people still do
navigators
it even
can
today.
the
They
navigators
do.
also recall what their
Yes,
local
please, guys,
registration
comment
plate- please
on the comments. We just want to see the registrations.
Right, if you
Ifuna
still
ukubona
remember
abakhaya.
them. Yes, right?
Yes.
Naba back before X or CP, don't, or C.
Alwa North was CAE.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
guys.
Velcom, I think, was OKE or something.
And Cape Town has always been CA. And also, guys, there was a way. I want to know who here is 2000 and, and this is also for you navigators as well. Remember dating back then? But before the date, sasi no mamsi. Kumbulu mamsi? Didn't you have a mama?
I did.
That
Mawetu.
was a girly stuff, man.
Zangu bena imamsi. Okay, you didn't have a mamsi. Okay.
No.
But there was a way, whether you were writing to a girl that you used to,
Yes.
when you were
And
writing a
thoughts.
letter. Hey? So how was that?
The
Do you
closer.
remember?
The
Roses.
silver cup was broken because of love. I am don't under road and whatever. I
Jeza.
can't remember.
Jeza.
Roses are red and the violets are blue. I am sitting here thinking of you.
Thank you. Jeza. I am loving that. At least, guys, and in the Dwanga, in my recollection of. And
the beach films.
oh my
But
word, till you match your name to somebody else's
and you get someone
name.
you're dating, and then it gives you a percentage, and you're like,
Sana, it
Sana,
is.
you are my forever.
And where are those forevers today?
Oh,
Ladies and
no.
gentlemen, let me first say thank you to you guys. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. You showed me a different side to you that as
We hope we did.
We try.
I can tell you guys did. Thank you so much. It's been a beautiful conversation. And yes, we thought to pay respect to our history. We thought to say the public holiday that you enjoy is just not another day in a calendar. There was a story around it, there was a build up to it, and there was a reason it eventually became declared as a public holiday. It is a day that we'll reflect upon today, and we did. We hope we've done justice to it by remembering the music we used to listen to, by remembering some of the activities that we would be caught up in as young children at the time. But also, there was a visit to the core of why the 27th of April. And we spoke quite extensively about the political events that led to that day. And whether you sit on this side or the other side of the conversation, what we delivered here today was just our own honest opinions, as we promise honest conversations every time. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you back here again for another conversation. Do remember to press subscribe and like, and yes, we enjoy reading your comments. Keep them coming. Let's engage. It is a wrap.